Those of you who watch my first impressions videos will know that I felt underwhelmed by episodes 8 and 9 of this season. In hindsight, I've realised that Camping Trip was so good that I needed a few episodes to readjust my expectations. Obviously, the showrunners couldn't start episode 8 with a disclaimer that it wouldn't be as good as Camping Trip, but I can. The following analysis will be nowhere near as long or interesting as the last one was on account of the story not being nearly as monumental. I will still be trying my very best to create the highest quality video, but I don't think anything is going to top the Camping Trip analysis until we get to Summer Festival. So with that out of the way, let's begin this analysis on Lottery, a story based on the source material's 66th chapter. This story can be found in episode 8 from about 9 minutes and 50 seconds. The story doesn't truly hit its stride until Takagi and Nishikata are walking home together. The scene with Kimura serves as a framing device, and the B-plot serves to waste everyone's time. The true meat of the story comes in the conversation between Nishikata and Takagi about how they would spend their winnings if they were to win the lottery. Discussions about winning the lottery are a staple of conversation topics for kids their age. I know it's something that I used to talk about with my friends when I was in grade 7. Learning what someone would do if they had a large amount of disposable wealth can tell you a lot about their priorities and aspirations. This seems to be the crux of Takagi's plan in this story, to use a hypothetical lottery winning to see where Nishikata is at in life. When he is asked what he would do with $1,000,000, about 13.5 thousand Australian, it is done so to take advantage of the inherently telling nature of a lottery discussion. As one would expect from Nishikata, he would spend his hypothetical winnings on video games and manga. So what does this answer tell us about him? Well, it says that he is short-sighted and materialistic, which isn't me trying to put him down. He can't be any older than 14 in this scene, and that's just how young teenagers are. When he decides to take it more seriously, he winds up saying the same thing, albeit more confident, giving us another hint that his foresight doesn't go any further than his own after-school entertainment. You might notice the face that Takagi makes while Nishikata goes off on his rant. What this face says to me is that she is surprised by the gusto he is putting behind his words, but only realizes how shallow his dreams are when he finishes. When the question is turned back on Takagi, something interesting happens as she splits her answer into two parts. The first part of her answer talks about buying clothes, shoes and bags, which even Nishikata notices is similar to his own answer. This could be Takagi doing what she had done back in Bicycle with the hopscotch track, reminding Nishikata that despite the pedestal he puts her on, she is still a kid, just like he is. The second part of her answer details a trip she would go on with her crush. Now, normally I don't pay attention to the specific words being said in a story, as a lot can be lost in translation. However, the way she describes this trip is unanimous between the fan sub, the Netflix sub, and the Netflix dub. So I feel confident in using that language to make a point. All translations of the description involve Takagi naming an aspect of the trip, namely the activities they would participate in and the food they would eat, followed by fantasizing about a discussion of said aspects. Why would she specifically bring up talking about the fun they had and the food they ate? What does this tell us about her? Believe it or not, I have to go back to the Bicycle analysis again. Remember what I said about Takagi breaking the status quo to create a memory? Well, this is what she is talking about doing here, albeit on a much larger scale. She wants to go on a trip with the person she likes, do fun things, eat good food, and talk about their experience for the rest of their lives. I haven't noticed this until now, but this series has a running theme of creating memories, from the detour in Bicycle, to adult Takagi looking back at the picture from Camping Trip, and now here, saying that if she were to gain a relatively large amount of wealth, she would use it to create a lifelong memory. In the next paragraph, I am briefly going to delve into some spin-off material, the very premise of which will give away a major plot point for the main series. So if you're not interested in hearing about this spin-off, there is a timecode to skip to on the screen now. Thanks to the Moto series, we know that Takagi was eventually successful in this goal. In the original manga chapter for this anime adaptation, when Takagi asks Nishikata if there's anywhere he would like to go, he says Mount Fuji. In episode 71 of the Moto series, we learn that they did, in fact, go on that trip when we see photos from it. This Moto chapter ends with Takagi talking about taking even more pictures, or in the context of this chapter, creating more memories. And Nishikata, as an adult, agrees, finally being on the same page as her. Back to the anime itself, this adaptation splits off from the source material to begin setting up a summer festival, and it is here that we begin a journey that will last us all the way until the end of episode 11. But as of right now, the summer festival is merely mentioned and doesn't go much further than that for now. When the lottery topic is reintroduced, Nishikata ups the prize to 10 million yen. Over 133,000 Australian dollars. And Takagi seems genuinely surprised when Nishikata talks about building a house, which on a surface level is a very forward-thinking ambition that could show that he is capable of thinking ahead. However, that surprise dissipates when it becomes clear that the house for Nishikata is nothing more than a storage shed for, you guessed it, video games and manga. Overall, Lottery acts as a good point of contrast between itself and the character arc that Nishikata will have over these last few episodes. It serves as a reminder that at this point in time he still exhibits the same kind of immaturity that he did in Questions, and is completely reluctant to even imply that he might go to the summer festival with Takagi. As I'm sure you are aware, soon enough, this will no longer be the case. And that is it for this analysis. A big thanks to Orion Tran, and a huge welcome to Quincy Chamberlain, my new patron. If you'd like to join Orion and Quincy or see the outtakes for free, you can do so via links in the description. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.